My boyfriend's mad because on my screensaver, the only pictures I have is Honey Jeevan and Mundane. He's like, whoa. This is a little weird. Welcome to the month of relationships. It was so funny. This is very much a topic of conversation because I got interviewed yesterday about relationship. I didn't know what the interview was going to be about, but they were very interested. It's for a very beautiful magazine, very like artsy magazine. And they were very interested in gender and relationship, and so it's a hot topic, So we get used to different types of humanity, different types of aliveness, different types of what it means to be, an alive being, whether human or not. There's a lot of interstellar kind of civilizations that aren't as dependent on gender. So this is just food for thought. So I had to write an article on my yogic dating tips, and one of them was when you're getting your screensaver together, make sure you put a picture of your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever friend. You know what I mean? Like it's a bad move not to do that. You're gonna get in trouble. So tomorrow, what day is it? It's Thursday, right? So tomorrow we're going to have this practice night. And one of the things that is always my kind of conversation around relationship, however you're kind of participating in that, is that we think that somehow miraculously our relationships are going to be long-lasting and hot and passionate and invigorating and we don't have to do anything. I mean, it's really weird. We think that just like slumping around and you turning the lights off and, wearing our PJs and, I don't know, all the, eating at the same places, eating the same food. We think that these types of things, just kind of like our regular kind of habitual behavior and relationship. And then once you have the kind of biochemistry of the first, 12 months wear off, then of course all your childhood wounds. So we think like projecting our childhood wounds on this other person and wearing our PJs and blaming them for all of our problems is going to get us a good relationship. But this is exactly what we think. It's weird. Isn't that funny? It's funny when you really like bring it out and are like, whoa, this doesn't make any logical sense. And this is why Yogi Bhajan said relationship is the greatest yoga. In all forms. I feel like all forms of relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic. But the people who are closest to you, who said that quote, intimacy breeds contempt. Have you guys seen the new Daniel Day-Lewis movie? Not one person in here? You think you have? Whoa, girl. Did they roofie you at the theater, or what happened? Oh, you've seen it? You kind of it's a little traumatic at the end, so I understand you kind of blocked it out. So he always gets weird. That's just part of his thing. He has to do it. But intimacy breeds contempt. It's a great film. It's a great date film. What I thought was funny is that we're in a kind of small theater, and the film is hilarious about relationship and about our weird tics around relationship. And Daniel Day-Lewis said he got, if you've seen this interview, he said he got so sad in the kind of experience of just seeing how, he didn't quite say it this way, but the depth of the neurosis and the habits of our and the twists and the traumas and the perversions of our relationships that he decided he's never going to act again. Welcome to modern relationship. Here we go. He retired after that. It took him out. But we'll see. He likes to retire, and then so we have a funny thing happening on the planet, and so it seems to be a topic of conversation. But part of Yogi Bhajan's kind of teachings around this is that you have to prepare. You have to train. You have to purify yourself. You have to amplify what's good in yourself and then what's good in the other person. You have to vigorously amplify. After the first kind of swath of biochemical kind of stuff wears off, so that's, you can get up to about 2.5 years because that's like the biochemistry of having a child. So, in our kind of limbic brains and the chemical, about 2.5 years. So you can even get like in a good, match, 2.5 years of like just kind of pure, good, solid biochemistry. That's as far as just the natural biochemistry is going to, because that would take you into having a child and then having, to about 2.5. I'm talking just purely animal instinct here. So, good relationships, like a good match, you can like have some pretty solid biochemistry for about 2.5 years, which is, that's a long time. When people come to me and they're like, and this and that and blah, 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 and I'm like, oh, well, how long have you guys been together? And it's like 3.5 months. I'm like, careful. I'm like, okay, here we go. Because that's no good. You should be able to like get through some 6 months, maybe 12 months at least, where your biochemistry is making you see what's the best about the person. That's serotonin, that's oxytocin, that's the good, and you're like, woo. And then your childhood trauma comes up. And intimacy breeds contempt. So when you actually start to feel seen by someone, or they've seen some part of you that you have judged to be ugly, or that kind of thing, or all sorts of other plethora of things, then you start to just hate them a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. Okay, and then they do something that pisses you off. So that gets filed. And the hate starts to grow, that contempt. And so, and you can tell, it's very obvious. This is the thing. You should, it's easier to see in other people. It's obvious to see when a relationship is going in the right direction, because both people, or however many people, are involved. It's the coinage. But however, the group of people, both people, however many, whatever, amount of things are happening, the aura of the constellation of the people involved in the relationship is brighter. It's lighter. It's amplified. And so you can always see, you can see it better with other people. You go out to dinner with friends, your friend met somebody, it's a new relationship, and it's all like hands on the knees, and, a lot of and you're annoyed because, you have like old whoever with you. And you're like, ah. And so, but then you see them like 9 months, 12 months later, and the thing's gotten more negative. Have you ever had that experience where all of a sudden, so you just can know, it's very clear, but it's easier to see in other people. That's why I'm giving the example. It's harder to see in ourselves. But some of the deepest spiritual work, and I put this in the article, deepest spiritual work that you will ever do around relationship, you are right. Even if you don't think they're right. Even if you think they're wrong, like completely not right, just tell them they're right. Like, you're big enough to tell them they're right. It will change your I'm giving you, and it sounds like it sounds so simple, but I am giving you in the thick of your own childhood trauma. If you had the spiritual depth and the spiritual bigness to be like, you know what, you're right. Even if you think they're not right, it's some of the deepest spiritual work that you can, because the thing is they are right. They're seeing things about you that you can't see about you, and then there's, they're wrong, they're right, they're wrong, and none of it matters. So in the thick of the kind of moment, because I'll tell you, if you're a heteronormative, in heteronormative relationship right this moment, but these laws go through all same-sex and, all relationship. A man can't fight for more than 9 minutes. It's beyond his nervous system. I was talking to my ex-husband about this last night. I was like, man, I wish I would have known that. We were laughing about it. So I really wish I would have known that. Because women, we like it. We'll go for, this is why women need to be with each other. Because we'll go for hours. That's how it goes. Across the board. But men, 9 minutes. You see how these laws just go? They work in all sorts of ways. So we'll tussle and fight, and, we're fine. Our nervous systems can totally handle that. We have to deal with children. We have to deal, we have a multi kind of universe, so we can kind of compartmentalize it. We don't need, we're just much more able to handle it, but men can only handle that kind of disagreement or that for 9 minutes before they start to really blow a gasket, and are pushed and then they'll say the thing that hurts you, and then, that's how your dad was, and see, boom, you're off to the races. Self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what we do. We are so good at it. It's crazy. So I'm giving you, this is my Valentine's gift to you. In all of your relationships, you're right. Just try it. Start to say it as a mantra. You know what? You're really right about that. And then maybe maybe even before you say it, find some areas that they are right. John and I do a practice, which is where your right is. And we tell each other where, especially if we've gotten a little head in, and we're having a hard time getting through the thing. It works every single time. Where your right is, I could have said that differently, and you can take it that far. You can actually do a practice with it if you have a partner or a business partner or somebody who is willing, or even a friendship. All this stuff, any intimacy, you can practice it with them if they're into it. But if they're not into it, you can do the Jedi kind of trick, which is just, yeah, you know what? I was thinking about that, and I really feel like you're right about that. And it's like, you're damn right I'm right. That's what you'll get. So you just have to be, especially if you're dealing with the male limbic system, you'll get, you're damn right I'm right, which is fine. And you're like, yeah, that's, and then you can have a good life. I wrote this in the article. I'm giving a preview to the article. I said, if you uttered those words of spiritual depth, you are right. Then you are, now this is what you have to ask yourself, because especially for women, but this again goes through all gender. Do you want to fight more than you want to love? Because some people do, and you have to be honest with yourself about that. Some people get off on the negative energy and the negative attention more than, so my point was, if you say you're right, you're halfway to a hot makeout or, something better already. If you keep going in the power struggle, because in the imago therapy, Harville Hendricks' work, which I love his work, I think he's really, really beautiful, and they have been married for 70 years. And if you watch some of the videos, I can't remember the wife's name, Helen. So if you watch some of the videos, she talks about there were times when, I did not even understand a word the guy was saying. It was so jarbled and so inconsistent and so emotional. And I just, because part of the imago is that you say, you basically, you try to empathize with them. You try to empathize and really feel how they could have that perspective, how they are right, which is, in spiritual terms, this is bodhisattva practice, because you're making someone else's well-being and emotional experience more important than, God forbid, your own. So then that's where the depth of the spiritual work comes in. Is that you're in, especially in a moment where you don't think they're right, and you think, they're triggered, you're triggered, they're triggered, and the whole thing is going. But what Harville says is, when those biochemicals wear off, there's something that comes up, and it's called the power struggle. And the power struggle is a childhood sibling. Robert Bly talks a little bit about this too. He has a book he wrote somewhat recently about sibling kind of psychology. So this is where all of a sudden the sex life goes down, because now you're, in a competition with your sibling. Intimacy breeds contempt. And so that the sex has gone down, or it's gone altogether, so you don't have those chemicals anymore to buffer, and you're in a power struggle with each other. And no good comes out of this, and we all know, and this is why a lot of people break up around how long. Like if you ask people, especially these days, it's like, how long is your longest relationship? 2.5 years. 2.5 years. 18 months to 2.5 years. Maybe we get to 3, if you're really like kind of stuck in it. Is anybody with me on this? It's very rare you hear people that are getting to 5-7 years these days. Maybe. But the power struggle starts, and then some people stay in that power struggle. Part of what's happening on the planet right now is that we have to redefine every aspect of the society, of the civilization. So that's from the way we educate our children, to the way we educate our bodies, the way we feed our bodies, the way we take care of the way we guardian our families and the earth, our neighborhoods, the way that everything has to change. And of course, in that is relationship. So we're looking around and going, okay, so this didn't quite work out. So how is it? And so people are trying a bunch of different things. One kind of swing is, okay, so, well, if we can't deal with one person, then let's be polyamorous, which again, this is like an illogical situation. It's like, I can't deal with one relationship. So I'm going to add the complexity of a multitude of more people. Because I came from the Osho world. Everybody was doing this. It's not, just to break it to the millennials, it's not new. Okay, so I came from the Osho world. Everybody, but none of those people had jobs. They were independently wealthy, and all they had to do all day is process their relationship issues. I'm 100% being serious. I am not joking one bit. All they did, it was just constant. It was exhausting. I was just like, okay. This is about 8 to 10 hours a day of relational processing. That's exhausting, because you're having to deal with multitudes of people and paradigms, and then, their couple of boyfriends and girlfriends, and then their primary partner, and then, and everybody's upset always. And everybody feels left out, always. Welcome to polyamory. So that's kind of, everybody feels left out. That's how it goes. So it's just, we're going to work this out. If you really wanted to start to sharpen the tool, so some people want to get in relationship, and then the people who are in relationship want to get out. It's a polarity planet. Or they want to make their relationship better. But everybody has its, grass is always greener. It's very cute. You know what I mean? The people want to get in a relationship, and then the people who are in the relationship are like, God, if I could just have one night, So, it's true, though. It's very true. So we want to kind of get in there and work with your neurological pathways around this stuff. And I was doing a little historical kind of digging around Valentine's Day. And supposedly, when the church took over the pagan holiday, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do with this? They named it after Saint Valentine. Who there's several Saint Valentines. It's like a very kind of vague kind of. They kind of really had to hobnob this whole thing together. They're like, okay, Saint Valentine, let's say. And supposedly this guy Valentine had got thrown into jail for some reason. He fell in love with his jailer's daughter, and she would visit him every day. So he wrote her notes, "Love Valentine." and that's how they kind of cobbled that together to be somehow having to do with Jesus. I don't know how it happened, but here we are. But we'd like to work on this. Okay, so we'll be here tomorrow night, and then we'll be here on Saturday.